Anyone who's followed news from the video game industry in recent years has become quite familiar with the term layoff and closure. This has been an ongoing issue since 2023, showing almost no signs of slowing down. But one of the first teams impacted by this sudden burst of job losses was right down the road. I sat down and spoke with two industry veterans to discuss these constant headlines and how they took destiny into their own hands. August 31st, 2023. A day that lives in infamy for hundreds of game developers who were left without a job in an instant.
It's a little heart-wrenching, truthfully, because I still knew everybody there, you know?
And there's so much emotion up front to figure out.
Volition Games, makers of hit titles such as Red Faction and Saints Row, were the first large-scale studio to close their doors in the face of tons of layoffs earlier in the year. It wasn't the last by a long shot, just going through the long list of studios that either had mass layoffs or were shut down entirely in the last few years. But what really made this studio special was that it was located right here in central Illinois. You are seeing the front of what used to be the office for Volition, a mere 5-minute drive from our office in Champaign. To think that within those walls was a group with the passion and creativity that led to such hits like Saints Row 2 is simply remarkable. This time 2 years ago, they were hot off the press of their latest release. But now, all that's there is a sign and the memory of what once was.
It was, special, and I'm glad that Mike kept the sign up. He's not taking the Volition sign down.
Former employees have so many positive memories from their time there, cementing the area as home for them.
From the outside, if you ever thought of the way it's portrayed game studios, Volition mocked that more than any place I'd been at that time.
Layoffs and closures are nothing new for the video game industry, but in 2023 and 2024, they were at their worst. In those 2 years, more than 30 studios shut down, and over 25,000 people lost their jobs. Volition, being one of the first, turned a lot of heads.
Volition's closure was one of the first, there were some other ones previous to that, but that was one of the, I think, a major studio closure early on in this cycle in 23. I mean, looking back now, and we see these every day, unfortunately, layoffs and studio closures.
This issue got to the point that even larger groups and gaming giants can't guarantee their employees' job safety.
There's always been kind of that cyclical, hiring and firing in the game industry, and any industry, but this seems a little bit worse than anything we've seen in the past.
In the last 2 years, when you see studios like Naughty Dog doing layoffs and Epic doing layoffs, you start to go, something else is going on, right? Like it's not only about sales. There's another thing that's happening that's contributing.
The one to account for Volition's closure is a company called the Embracer Group, a group who has dozens to hundreds of studios in their arsenal. They purchased Volition in 2018 after previous owners THQ went bankrupt. The company went to Koch Media in 2012, who were then purchased by Embracer in 2018. In 2023, some structuring had to be done to Embracer's finances, and without solid progress on a new project, Volition was met with a closure.
Everybody's really upset because they did have to do a pretty big financial restructuring. They thought they had a large investment. It didn't come through, but it was a situation where they were able to basically expand and really help build the game market quite a bit. So I mean, there are some positive things that Embracer has developed in that. It's unfortunate the situation that did come out.
But much like a successful game, that's not the end of this group's story.
With the Volition closure, I would say that kind of said, this has to happen now.
Taking destiny into their own hands, former Volition employees Matt Madigan, Brian Traficante, and Jim Boone got together and formed a new company from the ashes of Volition. Shapeshifter Games was established in January 2024, taking almost a dozen former Volition employees with them on this new adventure.
Matt had reached out about what his vision was to try and quickly assemble a bunch of people before they all split and get opportunities elsewhere. And the idea of reconnecting and doing something locally and finding others like ourselves that would be interested in continuing to work together, that was really cool.
In a market like the video game industry, where in the eyes of many tomorrow is uncertain, the people at Shapeshifter remain confident their doors will remain open during these trying times.
I'm obviously optimistic, otherwise I wouldn't have started a company diving into this industry, and it's something that I'm familiar with. So is my other principals. We're very familiar with the industry. We couldn't see ourselves doing anything else, truthfully. This is what we want to do, and we're able to do it right now.
Rather than face a similar fate of Volition, Shapeshifter's mindset is on something completely different. Co-development is their stake in the game, opting to not have any projects of their own, but instead offering their services to other studios.
Co-dev is a new space. I've never been a co-developer before. I've always worked on titles that were, contained and owned by the studios that we were working on. As a co-development partner, this is another one of those universal pieces that fit way better than I would have ever thought. I'm late in my career. I'm not one of the newbies. And I believe I've got a lot to offer and mentor other studios. I've made every kind of game you could think of, gone through all the challenges of making those games. And this has been refreshing to work with a new partner and offer those insights and be able to provide whatever it is they need, whether it's just pure execution or vision towards anything.
Despite being a fully remote studio, giving the potential to move anywhere else, Matt and Brian prefer to stay in the central Illinois area.
My family and I have just been exceptionally happy in Champaign. It's got everything that we really need. We're not really the kind of we don't go really far often, and that small town living, and not so small, right? But that small town living has suited us quite well.
We always joke that once you were in Champaign, you were kind of, locked in. But it also, it gave us an advantage because the cost of living here is great. The school systems are good. And, people could start to develop a family.
And while Shapeshifter has a lot from the old company, this is not Volition 2.0.
We enjoy the Volition tradition. We enjoy the experience. But we are trying to obviously make our own identity and become Shapeshifter and a really good co-dev partner.
Shapeshifter's first co-developed title, Clockwork Revolution, is in collaboration with In Exile. The game got revealed back in 2023 and has no projected release date just yet. And if the current state of the industry seems a little scary for someone wanting to enter it, these industry veterans want to reassure you.
Games aren't going away. We know that it's a very solid industry. Obviously a little bit of turmoil now, but I think it's going to rebound. I think the development cycle and everything is going to pick up more.
I have loved every day that I've gotten to work in the game industry. Even hearing about rumors of a closure or a cancellation, even knowing all the work I did on a project might not see the light of day, I would never want to do something else. I wake up every day appreciative and happy to do it. And so I would recommend people that think that's what's for them to continue to do it.
Keep doing what you do. Game development, you can do indie games now, and just kind of keep that passion alive, but keep going.
A lot of people are still impacted by Volition's closure, as several former employees are still searching for a job to this day. This industry is getting bigger and bigger, but at the same time, it shrinks more and more with each headline. These job disappearances still occur now in 2025, with the latest news of Marvel Rivals studio NetEase cutting ties with their entire US-based team and WB Games shutting down 3 of their studios. It's a growing problem, and gamers around the world are hoping the bad news stops soon. For News Channel 20 in Fox, Illinois, I'm Joe Tolliday. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all things Oops All Games and Fox, Illinois.